Before we begin, if you enjoy meaningful stories about unexpected moments, human connections, and life's quiet surprises, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. Your support truly helps the channel grow and allows us to keep sharing powerful narratives just like this one. Ethan Walker never imagined that a perfectly ordinary Thursday afternoon would transform into one of the most unforgettable experiences of his life. It was supposed to be a simple visit, the kind he had made dozens of times before. His grandmother had asked him to come by and help prepare for a small community fundraiser in their quiet Oregon neighborhood. Nothing about the request felt unusual. In fact, Ethan expected the afternoon to pass just like many others. A little bit of organizing, some light conversation, maybe a cup of tea with his grandmother afterward. But sometimes life has a strange way of hiding meaningful moments inside the most ordinary days. As Ethan stepped onto the familiar wooden porch of his grandmother's cozy house, the scent of lavender drifted softly through the open window beside the door. The house always smelled like that, lavender mixed with old books and warm tea. It was comforting, the kind of smell that made you feel instantly at home. He knocked lightly before opening the door. "Grandma? I'm here," he called. "Come in, Ethan." Her cheerful voice echoed from somewhere inside the house. He stepped into the living room and immediately noticed that someone else was already there. Claire Dawson. She sat near the coffee table surrounded by several cardboard boxes filled with decorations, ribbons, small handmade signs, colorful banners, and neatly folded tablecloths. Her attention was focused on sorting through the items with gentle care, but the moment she heard Ethan enter, she looked up. And there it was. That same warm smile he remembered. Claire had been his grandmother's close friend for many years. Ethan had met her countless times growing up, usually during holidays, small gatherings, or community events. Yet every time he saw her, there was something about her presence that felt quietly different from everyone else. She carried a calmness that seemed rare in the world. While most people rushed through conversations or filled silence with noise, Claire seemed comfortable with stillness. Her voice was soft but confident, her eyes kind and attentive. Even the way she moved had a gentle rhythm to it, like someone who had learned how to appreciate life's slower moments. "Ethan," she said with a light laugh. "Perfect timing. Your grandmother just stepped into the kitchen." "Looks like you started the hard work already," he replied, glancing at the organized boxes around her. She shook her head with playful exaggeration. "Oh no, I'm only pretending to be helpful," she joked. "I've been staring at these craft supplies for 10 minutes and still have no idea what I'm doing." Ethan chuckled. "That sounds about right." Their laughter filled the room for a moment, breaking the quiet afternoon atmosphere. It felt natural, almost familiar in a way that was hard to explain. His grandmother soon appeared from the hallway, wiping her hands on a small kitchen towel. "There you are," she said happily. "I'm so glad you came, Ethan. Claire and I could definitely use the extra help." "I'm ready," he said, rolling up his sleeves slightly. The three of them spent the next several minutes organizing decorations for the upcoming fundraiser. It was a small community event meant to raise money for a local library program, something Ethan's grandmother cared deeply about. Claire worked carefully beside him, occasionally making small comments about how confusing some of the craft instructions were. At one point she held up a tangled ribbon with a dramatic sigh. "I think this ribbon is winning the battle," she said. Ethan laughed. "You're supposed to tie it into bows, not wrestle with it." "Oh," she replied, pretending to think deeply. "That explains a lot." The playful exchange made the work feel lighter. Even his grandmother smiled as she watched them. After a while, however, the house phone rang from the kitchen. "I'll get that," his grandmother said, walking away. "Keep working while I take this call." A moment later she disappeared into the other room, leaving Ethan and Claire alone in the living room. Sunlight filtered softly through the curtains, painting warm golden patterns across the wooden floor. The quiet hum of the afternoon settled around them, peaceful and unhurried. For a few seconds, neither of them spoke. Claire focused on folding a small tablecloth while Ethan sorted paper decorations into neat stacks. Then she smiled slightly. "You know," she said, "I admire people who are naturally good at organizing things." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "And you're not one of those people?" Not even close, she admitted with a quiet laugh. I'm the type who creates chaos first and then spends hours trying to fix it. That's a relatable strategy, Ethan said. They shared another brief moment of laughter. But just as Claire stood up to place a box on the nearby shelf, something unexpected happened. Her foot caught the edge of a slightly folded rug on the floor. It was a small thing. The kind of accident that happens in a fraction of a second. But suddenly she lost her balance. Her ankle twisted awkwardly, and a quiet gasp escaped her lips. Ethan reacted almost instantly. Without thinking, he stepped forward and caught her before she could fall. Her weight shifted toward him, and he steadied her against the wall beside the couch. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. Claire's breathing was slightly uneven as she tried to regain her balance. I'm so sorry, she said softly, clearly embarrassed. I didn't see the rug. It's okay, Ethan reassured her quickly. Don't worry about it. She attempted to stand upright again, but the moment she placed weight on her foot, she winced. I think I twisted my ankle, she murmured. Instinctively, Ethan held her a little more firmly, so she wouldn't lose her balance again. I've got you, he said calmly. She leaned lightly against him for support, clearly trying not to rely on him too much, but unable to stand fully on her own yet. I can't move it properly, she whispered. Don't rush, Ethan replied gently. Take a moment. For the first time, Claire looked directly at him with a mixture of embarrassment and gratitude. Her cheeks carried a faint pink color, and she seemed slightly uncomfortable with the situation. I hate being clumsy, she admitted. You're not clumsy, Ethan said. It was just the rug. Still, she looked apologetic. I feel like I'm causing trouble. You're not, he said firmly. Not even a little. Gradually, he guided her toward the nearby sofa so she could sit down. They moved slowly, step by careful step. Claire kept a light hold on his arm to maintain balance while protecting her injured ankle. Every small movement required patience. When she finally reached the couch and sat down, she let out a quiet sigh of relief. Thank you, she said sincerely. Ethan nodded. No problem. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke again. Claire adjusted a strand of hair behind her ear, clearly still feeling a bit embarrassed about the incident. I usually pride myself on being independent, she said with a small smile. But today apparently had other plans. There's nothing wrong with needing help sometimes, Ethan replied. She looked at him thoughtfully. That's easy for you to say, she said. You're the one helping everyone else. He shrugged modestly. I just tried to be useful. Claire studied him for a moment before speaking again. Your grandmother is very lucky to have you. Ethan smiled slightly. I think I'm the lucky one. Their quiet conversation continued while they waited for his grandmother to return with a first aid kit. Despite the awkward beginning, the moment had created a surprising sense of connection between them. One built on simple kindness and genuine concern. Soon enough, his grandmother returned carrying an ice pack and bandages. Oh dear, she said, noticing Claire's ankle. What happened? Just a small twist, Claire reassured her. Together they carefully wrapped the ankle and placed the ice pack over it. The situation slowly returned to normal. But something about the afternoon felt different now. Sometimes a brief moment of vulnerability has the power to reveal something deeper about people. About trust, kindness, and the quiet bonds that can form unexpectedly. And for Ethan, that ordinary Thursday afternoon would remain in his memory for a very long time. Because sometimes the most meaningful connections begin in the simplest moments.